I'd like to recognize the presence of the President of the Leadership Movement Party, Dr. Richard Silumbe, the National Chair, Honorable David Kalumba, our National Coordinator, Honorable Jairus Ngoma, our Secretary General, Mr. John Tandara. My name is Jason Mwanza. I'm the National Information and Publicity Secretary for the Leadership Movement Party. And I think at this juncture, I will hand over to the National Chair to do the needful in introducing the President so that he can address the nation, and then we'll proceed from there. National Chair.
Okay. Thank you, IPS. Good morning, members of the press. We're happy to have you here, and you are most welcome. I want also to welcome other members of our party. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning,
and welcome to this press briefing, where the President is going to address the press. And after his address, you'll be allowed to ask questions so that you can iron out certain issues which you might want to find out, which is affecting the nation and also about the party. So at this juncture, it is my honor and privilege to invite the leader and president of the leadership movement, Dr. Richard Silumbe, to address the press. Mr. President, sir.
Thank you. Good morning, our colleagues, the press, and our members of the leadership movement. Today I have a few words because I wanted to give this opportunity to the press to ask questions and get some of the positions that we have as leadership movement concerning what is trending today in our country. So, as I've said, I have few words, but I want just to talk about stressing issues that we feel that leadership movement should register its voice. And number one, we want to talk about the issue of having foreign companies to audit the defense departments. We as leadership movement are very concerned with what is going on with the New Dawn government. And this makes us almost believe that this government is becoming a puppet government, because it has never happened in the history of Zambia that we have allowed foreigners to come into this country, Pricewaterhouse, Grant Thornton, and all these foreign companies, and yet we have a lot of companies in this country that can do that. But we are allowing foreign companies to come and audit the defense force. And this is a place where all information must be classified. So this is very concerning to us as leadership movement, and we now feel that the New Dawn government is really a puppet government that is here to sell out the country. And as leadership movement, we are very concerned, and we want to stress to the New Dawn government that we are not a colonial country. We are no longer colonies of other countries. We should not be totally dependent on foreigners. This is the time when a government like the New Dawn government should be investing in sustainable development. What do we mean by sustainable development? Ensuring that a country becomes productive. We run our affairs. Just like we have courts that are able to handle our cases, we don't go to Europe to get judgments from there. Why should we have auditors coming from other countries? Why should we depend on foreigners on everything? So these are the things that we are very concerned with as leadership movement. We want the New Dawn government to know that leadership movement does not support this trend of governance where a government becomes a puppet and is being told what to do anytime, anywhere, and everything is dependent on foreigners. This leads me to the issue of fishing. How we are suffering today under the New Dawn government. We have seen that many places in this country, many districts, up to today, they have not received farmer support inputs in form of fertilizer. And we heard the other day the Minister of I think the Minister of Home Affairs talking about fertilizer today being at some border somewhere in another country. This is very disheartening, because 2 years ago, this country was able to produce fertilizer, and we could actually provide to the farmers. And at that time, fertilizer was costing about 200,000 kwacha. Today, because we have destroyed the local production, we have forgotten about local investment, and we are now in a crisis where we have given contracts to cadres to go and import fertilizer anywhere they can find fertilizer, and drain down nitrogen chemicals of Zambia. So much that we are no longer producing much to sustain the country. This is why we are seeing fertilizers now costing around 1,600, which is very disheartening. So we urge the New Dawn government to rethink their governance system. We want to focus on production. This is why leadership movement has been clear. We want to work production, think production, and ensure that whatever we do is actually fueling production in the country. So we want the New Dawn government to get a sense and invest more in producing stuff in this country. We need to recapitalize NCZ and be able to produce and forget about dependence on foreigners. This is what we want to see as leadership movement. This also brings me to the issue of medicines, the shortage of medicines. We have a New Dawn government that doesn't think about producing, manufacturing medicines here in Zambia. These are the things that a country faces when it puts a puppet government in power, and they don't think about production, they don't think about the people. They are only thinking about how they can amass wealth and how they can listen to the funders who brought them into power. So these are the problems we are facing today, and we want the Zambian people to see this, and at the same time, because we have given these people a mandate of 5 years at the moment, we want to advise them that medicines can never be enough when we are always importing from other countries. We need to put up a strategy where we can manufacture medicines here in Zambia. For those young people who don't know that we used to manufacture medicines here in Zambia, we used to do that. In the 90s, we used to produce chloroquine, we used to produce Panadols, we used to produce everything here in Zambia. Drip water, you can name them. But today, it seems like it's a taboo when you talk about local production. We are now sellouts who depend on foreigners, puppets, thanks to the governments that we put in power that don't think about local production. They only think about importing things from outside countries. We as leadership movement are clear. We want to produce medicines here in Zambia. We want to produce fertilizers here in Zambia, and we can do that. And we used to do that. So it's just a matter of strategy and focusing on empowering the Zambian people, supporting local products, supporting your local team. Local is local. That is the agenda that we should follow if we are to see development as a country. I think these are the issues that we need to ensure that we attend to as quickly as possible before it is too late, before the New Dawn government takes us to the drain, where a country becomes irreversibly destroyed and completely dependent on foreigners.
Thank you very much. That was the voice of the Leadership Movement Party on some of the issues concerning the nation. At this point, we are going to allow the president to take in questions from different media houses. So if you have a question, kindly just raise your hand and then you introduce yourself and the media house you're coming from. Then you can pose the question and you'll be able to attend. Yes, sir.
Yes, my name is Kumani. I'm from Pan-African Radio. Yes, I have interacted with the press singers whom I can't mention on the issue of the defense force. Now they are saying that issues to do with defense procurement are international in nature. This is why maybe they have hooked Grant Thornton and the other its subsidiary, which is the other one, Price something. Yes, so what's your take on that?
This is what happens when we have people who do not believe in themselves, and those are the statements that you get from countries that have never developed a foundation upon which they can grow a sustainable and independent country. Number one, when we talk about procurements in the defense force being international, how many countries are calling foreigners in their defense forces to come and audit them? You are going to find that apart from a few African countries, maybe there will be no other country that calls itself independent which can do that. Number two, when we talk about international procurements, there are so many things in the defense force that can be produced within this country, but we have forgone that and we have gone into procurement from other countries, and yet we are supposed to be producing some of the things. I can give an example. Uniforms. We used to produce ZNS uniforms. We used to produce Zambia Army uniforms. We used to produce Zambia Police uniforms. But today we are importing everything from China. Why? Because we have lost the sense of nurturing the economy within the country. We have lost a sense of producing and nurturing a sustainable economy. We had Mungushi Textiles that used to make all those things. But today we have sold Mungushi Textiles, and the people who bought it, they closed it down so that they can continue importing from other countries. So these are the trends that we should get rid of if we are to see ourselves developed as a country. So this is not a good thing. If praise singers are thinking that this is a good thing, it's because they don't think about their children and children's children. If we are thinking about our children, nurturing an economy that makes ourselves independent as a country and making our children independent, we wouldn't be supporting such kind of things, because if we depend completely on foreigners, it means that when we have any shocks, we cannot stand as a country. So it's not a good trend, and it's very concerning. And for those praise singers who are saying it's a good thing, they are very misguided and they are lost because they do not think about the future of this country.
Thank you very much. I saw another hand.
Yes.
You can go ahead.
My name is Msole Mugara from Crown Television, and my question is in line with the question that my colleague just posed. And then yesterday I attended the briefing where government was clarifying about the same issue you just posed, where we had the Ministry of Information and Media Director clarified on the situation, where he says the opposition leaders are actually trying to politicize this issue, and they clearly don't understand where this thing had started from, where he had mentioned of issues where they had advertised for these jobs and the contracts that they had picked. Yes, so I'm just trying to get your view on where are you really trying to politicize issue as the opposition, and then the other issue is on away from that. I would like to get your reaction on the recent arrest of Chebufeta Haile. What would be your reaction as leadership movement?
All right. First of all, the issue of our defense forces, this is a national security issue. It's not a political issue. for someone to say we are politicizing this issue. We are concerned because we are Zambians. So this is not something that should be just handled by the ruling party and expect everyone to keep quiet. We are thinking about our security. If we bring foreigners to audit the defense forces, it means that the information, critical information in the defense force will be in the hands of foreigners. This is why you never see a foreign company to go and audit the American Defense Force or the Russian Defense Force or the Israeli Defense Force or any country that calls itself independent and it wants to control its fate as a country. So where you see such things is only in puppets that do not believe in themselves, that think that they have nothing to secure for. These are the sentiments that you get from such people. Look at the issue of fertilizer, for instance. People justify, it's okay, we waste time producing fertilizer, it's easier to go and import somewhere else. It's because you have no interest in nurturing your own economy. You have totally no confidence of existing as an entity. This is why you see such kind of attitudes. This is why we say these sentiments, they only come from those people who don't have a foundation for sustainable development. They don't have a foundation for nurturing a solid ground upon which future generations can build their own country. If we sell out the defense forces, we sell out everything because we think it is normal. This is why we have found ourselves where we are today. Look at the minerals. Today you are being told that no, you need to go and grow cashew nuts. Actually, cashew nuts are far much more rewarding than copper. Forget about copper. Copper is a wasting asset simply because it's a justification for selling out our natural resources, our minerals, that we should be benefiting from them. Imagine 100 years from now, future Zambians will ask, we used to have copper. All the copper is finished. And it gobbled billions of US dollars because those companies that are running the copper mines, they are making billions, far bigger than our budget. And yet they will have nothing to see for the copper that we had. And they'll be asking themselves, what type of Zambians lived in that generation 100 years ago? We will not be any different from the Zambians who lived in the 1500s. You remember those slaves who went for slavery, who 200 very muscular men could be arrested, told to squat with one slim white man, putting them in chains, whipping them, taking them to America. And when one says, why are we going as slaves? He said, no, this is how it is. There's nothing we can do. And they all went into slavery and worked for 500 years to build America. This is the kind of mentality that has been perpetuated up to today. Today we are justifying Copper Belt. Look at the Copper Belt province. They all voted for the New Dawn government, for UPND. All for what? Thinking that those choppers they were seeing, the Chitenge materials, the whole Zambia crushed in red, thinking that all that money was coming from somewhere, not knowing that it's the same mining companies were funding so they can change the government and further enjoy the tax holidays and tax breaks. And in the New Dawn government, they're actually enjoying much more than in the previous government because they funded the New Dawn government. And people there go to the Copper Belt today. There are no jobs. People spend 3 months without pay and nothing has even changed because those people orchestrated change of government and people were thinking that there is something that is about to come. So these are the challenges that we are having today. In the 90s, when we were running those mines, we used to have jobs. You don't need to have a grade 12 certificate for you to have a job. That is a lie. Anybody at the age of 18 years, 15 years, you can get a job. We used to have ZNS jobs. We used to have jobs in the mines, very good social amenities in the Copper Belt. What has happened 30 years down the line? Go to the Copper Belt today. It's far worse than it was in the 90s. No jobs. People are languishing in the streets. There's poverty everywhere. Mufurila looks like Baghdad today, as if it's a war zone. and yet we are justifying with all these puppets. Oh, it's okay. Well, let's give them more tax holidays and tax breaks. 100 years from now, believe me, the Zambians of the 2100, they will look back and say, these idiots who lived really sold out the country. They gave up all the resources, all the gold to foreigners, and they were busy worshipping. Oh, it's foreign investors. It's everything. All these people are good. They have the capacity. Us, we don't have the capacity. Who told you that you don't have the capacity? When mining started way before any machine was developed, picks and shovels have run the mines. Today you have been brainwashed to think that there is no mining without an excavator, a complicated machine. You cannot mine if you don't have a shaft going 1,000 meters down the drain. And yet the whole Sakile sits on the copper. Just on top there, Nkana constituency, the whole Nkana sits on copper. The whole Patamatu in Luanshya sits on copper. You just have to dig and start processing the copper. But these places, they were bad. They were open pit mines, and we restricted mining to certain places. And we have been brainwashed into thinking that only in those places, that's where there is copper. These other places, they don't have copper. And we need to have a lot of investment for us to run the mines. And yet Chinese, Indians, they walk into this country with picks and shovels. They gather villagers, they start digging, they find gold, they find copper. This is why we have a lot of foreign mines mushrooming everywhere. And we are here with our government discussing how unacceptable it is for a Zambian to mine. It is impossible, we don't have capacity, and all these things being repeated. Now, getting back to the second question of the arrests, we are very disappointed with the New Dawn government for arresting journalists. Because when journalists go there, they go to cover the news. Whether it is bad or good, it doesn't matter. They are not in the equation of whatever is happening there. Law enforcers should desist from arresting journalists because journalists are doing their job. That is our categorical position. As to those people who insult, whether they have insulted or whatever, that is their business. We as leadership movement, what is our position on issues to do with insulting the head of state? We have categorically said we do not need to insult the head of state because one day we are going to be there. And believe me, I would not, if I were given that position, I would not allow people to insult me. Just as I would not want to insult anybody in power. Those are the values we are talking about. A country that has degenerated to the levels where we have no values is all about just doing anything without values. This is why we put in governments that are not responsible, because we ourselves as people, as citizens, we have not cultivated values. Imagine if you have values to say, this land we have is our land, it's our birthright. We need to own land with title deeds. There is no way such a citizen would go and vote, go and attend a rally where a politician is saying, when you vote me into power, I'm bringing foreign investors. I have a lot of Americans, they are coming. Anybody would say, what is this? I think we need to own this land. We don't have to be sellers. We don't need foreigners to own title deeds. Somebody who doesn't have an NRC is owning a title deed. Just imagine. You have NRC, but you don't own anything. They can't even allow you to have a title. Even when you buy land, it will take you 10 years. They will not even process a title for you. But a foreigner with a passport from America or UK or India, he has a title deed. What does that mean? It can only happen in a country where people don't have values. They don't even know what they want. They don't know where they are coming from, and they don't know where they are going. This is why we vote for Chitenge material. As long as a politician comes with a Chitenge material, a t-shirt, and some 50 kwacha, we are voting. We don't care. We don't have values, and we don't even care about tomorrow. This is why we tell the Zambian people to say, you vote for anything and your child has grown, you got a 50 kwacha, you have put anyone who gave you a chitenge material, your child is now 40 years, doesn't have a job, he'll be 50 years, no jobs, again you go to another politician, gives you a 50 kwacha, you vote. What type of citizens are we? These are the things that we are talking about as leadership movement. It's time we start developing values. The value system. Do we want to be a country of insulters, insulting anything? We don't even think about how do we channel the energies that we have as a country to develop a country that our children would love to live in. But we support things that are of less value. We support foreigners. We are sellouts in nature. This is why leadership movement has embarked on a journey to re-educate the Zambian people. We don't know how long it will take, definitely, but that is the kind of contribution we want to make to this country to ensure that Zambians start having values of ownership of their land with title deeds, understanding that there is no country that can develop with its young people languishing in the streets. Today we have been lied to say you can only have a job when you have a certificate, a grade 12 certificate, for you to go to ZNS. And our forefathers used to go to ZNS with nothing, with only energy. And we have accepted that. Oh, only a few people with 6 points they are going for ZNS. Us, we don't have anything, we can't go to ZNS. Is it true? It's a lie, a big lie. We need to know that every person has got something to contribute to the development of this country, whether you are educated or not educated, because leaders, we will know what to get from you. We want to get what is best in every Zambian. So if you have energy, we are going to give you where you can spend your energy. If you have a skill, a talent, we have to create an environment where you can spend that talent. And these jobs are what we're talking about. This is why we are talking about 4 million jobs. In ZNS, we want to run ZNS run state farms. In every district, we want to have ZNS run mines, ZNS run gold mines, ZNS run copper mines, ZNS run manganese mines, ZNS run cobalt mines. Because if an Indian can walk into Serenge and starts a ZNS, he starts a mine, a personal mine, mining manganese, with villagers just busy, barefoot, digging manganese and producing, and he's selling and he's making millions of dollars out of that. And those people are barefoot and they are not even well remunerated, and those mines are everywhere. What can make ZNS to have such kind of mines with better incentives? We should be thinking about these things. This is what the leadership movement is talking about. We want to have these value systems where we should enlighten the Zambians that we can do things ourselves and we have the capacity. We should not succumb to the lies that we have been given through the education system, where we are told that, oh, government should not participate in business, government should just sit like a council, and only foreign investors should come and run the businesses. We should be very down to accept such kind of ideologies. When the same colonizers, former colonial masters, they run national systems. They are behind and they have conglomerates, they pump money there, and they are coming and they are telling you to accept their investors, who they have given money, and all that money goes back to them. Look at Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has not auctioned its oil fields. Those are state-run oil fields, and they are making profits. And Saudi Arabia is stronger than you can imagine. All these countries that have oil, they have never given to foreign investors. And who are we to think that we have nothing to gain from copper? We should just give it up to foreigners. We have nothing to gain from gold. That is ours, God-given gold. We have sent soldiers there, ZNS, to guard the Kasenseri district and wait for that foreign investor to come and pick gold for us. When villagers there can simply go on their yard and pick gold. And we don't want that because we hate ourselves. We don't want to see a Zambian like you owning a gold mine. We would rather have a foreign investor because we don't know where he's getting the money and where he's taking the money. This is the kind of mentality that we have embarked on as leadership movement to change and tell the Zambian people to say, there is always something best in you that we want to tap. And with that, we can build a great Zambia. That is the agenda for the leadership movement. I think I've been clear on the issue of arrests. We do not certainly want the head of state to be insulted. The same way we would not tolerate anybody to insult us. You will never hear the leadership movement insulting the head of state personally because we feel that he occupies a position that represents the Zambia at large. And with all due respect, but we are going to criticize the policies that we see because we want Zambia to develop. That is what we believe in as leadership movement. As to the arrests of journalists, we do not support that, and we are going to voice out just as we have been voicing out. Look at the previous government, how it did. It destroyed Movie TV. It destroyed The Post. It destroyed Prime TV. These three media organizations have never recovered from that shock. We do not want such kind of behavior because we want the media to grow and compete with CNN. We don't want to be having a difference when we are seeing our local media and CNN and BBC. We want them to grow bigger and better and compete with these foreign media houses. So now, if we start dwarfing them, we start disturbing them, where are we going as a country? We are not going to have anything to show for. I give you an example of Donald Trump, I think, when he was president of America. He was saying, I don't like these tech giants, Apple and Google. There are a lot of cases in European Union. They were sanctioned. But he said, even if they criticize me and they don't like me, but because they are Americans, I'm going to protect them. And he sanctioned European Union until they backed off from these tech giants because they are Americans, because they represent America, even if they don't like their in-personal disagreements. That's how we should be doing as a country. Let's protect the media. Let's protect every Zambian company because Zambian companies, it's our own money. It doesn't matter who owns them. That contributes to the riches of the country. But if we start dwarfing them, stopping them from growth, and we say that we are developing, we are joking. So we want to protect the media. We don't subscribe to such kind of things, and we voiced out that we are very disappointed to the arrest of the two journalists from Movie TV, and we do not think that that is democracy. As to the cases that are going around and those people who are insulting, they let the law visit them. But everything is within the law. And we do not support, just to clarify this, we do not support the law that says defilement of defamation of the president, and that law has to be actually revisited. But who are we to talk about those things? We are not in parliament. We don't have anybody in parliament. When we come into there, definitely we will revisit that law and ensure that true insults, not allegations, should be dealt with. We do not want people to insult the head of state, but we should not assume anything as an insult to the head of state. That is the bottom line.
Thank you very much. Is there any other question? Yes, please, ma'am.
My name is Miriam Kemba from Camden TV. I would like to get your position. For quite some time, we have heard several statements made by the ruling party, which is the UPND, on several occasions, questioning the caliber of the opposition in the country right now, saying that we do not have strong opposition political parties which can offer critical checks and balance to the government, and what they're doing currently when they appear on several platforms is just to draw attention of the public Your thought on that?
First of all, when you hear the ruling party saying they do not have a strong opposition in the country, what does that mean? It means that first of all, opposition grows with time. They have spent 23 years in opposition. Leadership movement has spent how many years in opposition? Very few years. So it's like a big guy saying, you are too weak. And he's a child and he's growing. Does that make sense? Doesn't make sense. So we don't even actually look at those things as something to talk about, because these people, soon they are going. Their time is ticking. You see, everything they are doing is wrong at the moment. And Zambians with time, they'll realize. So it is a happy talk to massage their mindset, to think that they are just the only, they are there alone. And sometimes they mistake even the term opposition. It's like I can liken it to those racists, foreigners or foreign countries that talk about Africa as a country. Oh, Africa, but Africa has got a lot of countries. There is poverty in Africa. There is no development in Africa. That is what this puppet government you have put in is behaving. It thinks that the opposition is the PF that they actually won. They defeated in 2021, and they are just seeing PF. They are not seeing any other opposition. They cannot listen to anybody because in their mind, they think that there's only PF and that's the opposition they are talking about. I'm sure they are not even referring to leadership movement when they talk about the opposition, because this is the term that has been assumed by the New Dawn government and its minions to demean the opposition as a bunch of opposition that has been defeated and it has no ideas and there's nothing they can offer to this country. But we know that is a kind of mindset that thinks that they are on top and they cannot listen to anybody. And they are thinking of the opposition as PF, but we do not belong to PF. We are not part of the so-called opposition they are talking about. And we talk about issues that affect the Zambian people, that slowly but sure they are being accepted by the Zambian people. And it's a matter of time. And we do not compare ourselves to these two political parties that each has stayed for 20 years. Imagine 20 years of propaganda, UPND propaganda. I was only 17 years. UPND was there. I was in high school then. And when we talk about PF, just a little bit later, 2 years later, PF was there. So what are you talking about? We were young, we have grown into all these two opposition political parties that have faded out. And people, because of brainwashing, they think that these are the only political parties that exist in Zambia. But sooner or later, they will realize that these have lost relevance. They don't think anymore. Their mindset is the mindset of the 1990s and the year 2000s. That's their mindset. When we talk about owning, producing, production, they can't understand because they are living in that time where there was privatization, everything has to be sold to foreigners. That crazy mindset of those days. And they are thinking that they are the only ones today. Sooner or later, the young people who are receiving the message of the leadership movement soon will grow up and they will make a decision. So it's just a matter of time.
Thank you very much. I think we can take one last question, if there is any. Yes.
Maybe just a quick reaction on that. The ruling party has gone 1 year down the line, and we still have like sensitive departments, like we still have someone still acting secretary to the cabinet, and there are still other positions that government has still not put in place. Like we still have ambassadors that have not still been employed. What's your quick reaction on that?
Number one, what you should take from the New Dawn government is that it's not any different from the PF government. This is why you have seen much cross-pollination. Someone can easily go from UPND to PF and back and forth. They do not have an ideology. It's just a coming together thing. This is why you see even many of the ambassadors from the PF have been maintained. Many of positions that shouldn't have existed with the mindset of the PF, it is still in government because they see no reason. If leadership movement were in power, I wouldn't think that you can run with people with the mindset of the UPND or the PF in positions and you are running and you are saying we are bringing about development. That is lying to the Zambian people. You need to put in every critical decision-making body a person who knows the vision for that particular government. But if there is no such a thing, no changes, and these are the same people recycled, you know for yourselves where we are going, that there is not much change. We are not seeing any difference. And these are the same people masquerading to be a different government. But in the end, what we expected in the PF, that is what we are going to expect in the New Dawn government. Because already they are talking about the people from the PF sabotaging the New Dawn government policies. And we laugh as leadership movement because we fail to understand it. 20 years in opposition and you have an ideology and you have a vision. After 20 years, people can't get your vision and you are stuck and you are complaining that no, it's from the other party. People from the other party were disturbing us. This is why fertilizer cannot come. They are sabotaging these people, and yet it's you who are supposed to appoint them. Doesn't make sense. It is a failing government that behaves like that, and we expect more disasters from the New Dawn government. From what we have learned 1 year down the line, we are not seeing any difference. I can cite just one simple example of a leadership that had a vision. The Levi Mwanawasa government, apart from before I can even talk about the Kenneth Kaunda, which has been very brilliant in actually stating the path for the country. But Levi Mwanawasa, when he came into power in year 2001, remember before 2001, us, we were there, at least that time, when you see a maize cob, you see it was like mango. Mangoes, you only eat them during a certain season, and they are gone. You wait until another season. That is how maize was. But today, thanks to Levi Mwanawasa's government that came and said, enough is enough. We are going to have winter maize. And people started growing winter maize. At first, they were surprised. How can maize grow in June? Is it possible? It is not possible because of the colonial mindset, the old way of doing things. Until they saw that actually you can grow maize and it can grow, and you can actually harvest. And today, wherever you pass, you see maize. This is how the mind works. Sometimes certain things that look very normal, like today, when we talk about a farmer being registered for FISIP as it is today, it looks like to the leadership, they make a cooperative that they should be receiving FISIP, and they are registering them just with NRC. Someone brings an NRC, they write them, they are 300. And then they bring 10 bags of fertilizer, and they are sharing each one a medal. And they are saying, no, we don't know what has happened. First of all, the system is wrong. How do you get a farmer with NRC? A farmer needs a title deed. A title deed is what defines how big his land is. When you see the hectareage from their titles, when we give them title deeds, then we allow them now to present their title to a bank, and then they can get resources enough to make them farmers, not an NRC. Even people who have no place to farm, they present their NRC and they get a medal of fertilizer and they share among us 100. And you are saying, no, we are supporting farmers. this is how the system has been. Wait for the leadership movement. Then you are going to see how we actually elevate people who can produce. Because we know that a person who has 10 hectares, he will need more fertilizer. He doesn't need to just present an LRC. We know that, oh, this title bearing this name, he has 10 hectares. Therefore, this person deserves a 500,000 kwacha. And he'll be given 500,000 kwacha. And he'll be able to buy seed on time, feed for his animals if he has animals on time. He's going to buy fertilizer on time. And the remaining money will buy a tractor and invest on that land and start seeing farming. Collective cooperatives, and it's failing, and we are wondering why people are not graduating from subsistence farming into commercial farming. So these are the things that when we talk about them, and because we are very few at the moment, the New Dawn government, as she says, they will say, this opposition, they have nothing to offer. They don't have ideas. Until that time when Zambians open their minds and they see what we are saying as the truest way to develop, then they realize that, oh, they spent the other 20 years in a very big lie, in a very dark room, thinking that things are normal, and yet they are very abnormal.
Thank you so much. I should believe most of the things have been exhausted, and that is a clear vision